Sometimes I think we overcomplicate things. Sometimes I think we make things bigger than what they really should be. Sometimes I think in the rush to be smart, intelligent, or to be important, that we take something that can be broken down into steps and we make it into something that is a lot more than it can be, and it begins to overwhelm everybody. In my field, which is electronic security, I struggled with, and even in physical security, being locksmithing, one of the things I struggled with the most in the beginning was troubleshooting. Because I am a person, like me and Hollip was talking before, I am a end result person. I like to see the end result. I like to deal with the end result. I enjoy the process, but I only enjoy the process after I'm done with the process. I enjoy looking back on the process and saying, yeah, that was great. I went through this and I struggled and it was what it was. But in the process, I get bored, I get distracted, and it's a hump for me to get over. And so therefore, coming into electronic security, I like to install systems. I like to program systems. But one thing I didn't like was troubleshooting, because in order to troubleshoot something, you have to be very methodical. You have to be very step by step. You can waste a lot of time, and missteps or wasted steps, or what one of my mentors called pissing in the wind, could cause you hours, sometimes even days worth of time, and you're not even on the right track. And so therefore, what I learned is to effective troubleshooting is isolating, in other words, divide and conquer. But the main thing is to break things down to its simple components and then attack them one at a time. Let me ask you something, brothers and sisters. We today are so caught up on who's fighting who's debating whose information is better, whose nation is better, whose words are better, who sold us out into slavery, who was originally here in America. We got all of these things going on, and I want to ask you, are we even there yet? Are we even at the point where we can sort some of that stuff out now? Because we are arguing about all of this stuff, and we are still under the foot of the slave master and the slave master's children. We are still under their foot. We are still being held down. We are still being oppressed. And quite frankly, even the people who are successful in this country still experience a huge measure of gravity, inorganic gravity, to the point where they're on the mat and they have to fight just to get up every day. So if that's what you experience, that's what I experience. And if you're not experiencing that, then you're obviously in the poverty lane. And, that doesn't mean that I look down on you, but what it does mean for me is that you got some work to do, because you're not experiencing what we're experiencing yet. And if you're experiencing that, if you're smart, you're talented, you're dedicated, and you're driven, and you're still experiencing a huge level of inorganic gravity that holds you down to the floor that you got to fight against just to get up every day, not mention climb the ladder, then quite frankly, BAIO, which is Black African Infrastructure Organization, is for you. So you may ask, I like what you guys are saying. I like what you're talking about. I do want an independent nation. I think that we can do it. I think I could lend a hand. What do I need to do? You know what my answer is? Just show up. Just show up. It doesn't mean that you have to get along with everybody. It doesn't mean that you got to agree with everybody. It doesn't mean that you got to look everybody in the mouth, and it doesn't mean that you got to take everybody home with you. But what we do ask, and what we want to make clear, is that you have to say, or you have to agree, that we should have an independent. When I say independent, I'm not going to pull no punches anymore. We want an independent nation from the government of America and the rulers of this world. We want an independent nation, off the shores of America. This is important. We want it off the shores of America. We believe that we, as black people, can have satellite communities in America, but we believe that the host nation, the headquarters, the brain trust, the intellectual property, the supply, the infrastructure, the logistics, all of this should be off the shores of America, That way we can deal independently and not be influenced, bribed, corrupted, or what have you by this world, and therefore we are free to do what we need to do unmolested for black people who are from the African diaspora. Now, when you look at it that way, if you believe that we should be independent, if you believe that we need a land of our own, and you believe that we need a separate independent flag to claim nationhood to, a separate territory that we should have our loyalties to, I got you, little girl. Where you going? If you believe that, come here. If you believe that, and if that's in your heart, then you belong in the Black African Infrastructure Organization. You belong to you need to be one of us. Do we accept you if you're a Christian? Yes. You like that, huh? Yeah, I know you do. We accept you if you're a Muslim. We accept you if you're a Hebrew, if you're a Moor, if you claim African spirituality. If you claim that there's nothing, nobody, nothing, and nowhere, we accept you. However, me, Minister Dawood, my question is always going to be, if you're to participate in the building of this nation, what is your role going to be? A friend, and the friend had a successful business for years. It was a what's called like a soap and beauty products business or whatever, but it's more so soap and lotions. And they learned how to do it. Somebody taught them, and they were very successful. And so I said to them, I had known them for a long time, and one day I was talking to them, and I said to them, I said, yo, how come you never told me about your business or told me about your website? And they was like, you know what? I don't even direct black people towards my website. I said, what? Now, mind you, to give you some context, brothers and sisters, this was a person that I knew that was hardcore into the black movement, was into the scholarship of the black movement, biblically tracing lineage and history and things like that, black understanding of the Bible, and I mean just like deep into the movement. And it shocked me that person didn't want to lead black people towards their site. And they said, I find that when I deal with black people, that black people either always ask for deals, always look for hookups, take me for granted, you know what I'm saying, or try to ask why my prices are so high. So I don't even really want to deal with that. And because I don't want to deal with that, I just basically, you know what I'm saying, I just basically deal with everybody else. Now, understand something. I can't really blame this person. Yeah, you can too, can't you? Your cute self. I can't really blame this person for taking this position. No, you ain't going in there. I can't blame this person for taking this position. However, what I will say to all of you is this. You know that there's a lot of you out here, you feel like this. Whether you be in business for yourself selling some kind of retail product, or you be in the trades, or you be in the sciences, technology, engineering, mathematics, you don't want black people interfering with your success because you know that black is taboo in the business world in America. And if you know that black is taboo in the business world in America, then you tell me, don't you think that we should do something about it? Don't you think that it has gone on long enough? Do you really think that we as a people will birth ourselves into power like some people think? Do you think that we're going to integrate ourselves into power? I'm not sure about that, but my answer would be no. However, I think it's a coward's move to just try to let things be and cross our fingers and hope that some mystery God is going to settle this problem for us when we know we have to take action. And the action is that we have to create our own circumstance. So let me read this to you, brothers and sisters. This is an article I came across from a quote-unquote black Trump supporter. And it says, and I'm going to give you the short of it. When asked why he supports Donald Trump, he says because Trump is right about Mexicans and he supports building a wall that separates Mexico from the U.S. He says that illegal immigrants are stealing all the jobs from African Americans. I want to say it again. He says that illegal immigrants are stealing all the jobs from African Americans. Come to Harlem, he told a local newspaper. There's so much building going on right now in Harlem. Buildings are going up right now while we're talking. And I've got it documented on every construction site in Harlem, you don't see any blacks working. I'm in the reality business, he added. If it ain't that we don't want to work, is that we can't work because Mexicans have taken all the jobs. Mexicans have taken all the jobs. Now, brothers and sisters, let's be real with one another. I, Minister Daoud, am on construction sites almost every day of my life. And on these construction sites, you want to know something? You know who I don't see in my field of endeavor? I don't see no Mexicans. You know what I do see in my field of endeavor? White Anglo-Saxon males. That's who I see. You idiots out there who constantly have been brainwashed by the Republican talking points. And your answer to the reason why black people are living in poverty is that it's the Mexicans' fault. It's the Mexicans. They're taking our jobs. They've taken everything from us. They're willing to work for less, and they're taking over America. And when we put Trump in office, he's gonna make America great again. Well, how the hell is he supposed to do that? What's he gonna do? I'm sorry. Come here. What's he gonna do? He's gonna wave a magic wand, and all of the Mexicans are gonna disappear. And when he makes them disappear, and they leave those jobs that you want, let me ask you a quick question. Do you think, yes, mommy, do you think that you're going to be able to fill those jobs that the Mexicans have taken? Or do you think that basically white males will take those jobs? Because they're the ones blaming Mexicans also. You see, this kind of emotionalism, this kind of foolishness, this kind of talking points that you get from right-wing Republican radio, where everything has to be blamed on a fellow person that is of darker skin. This is what we at the BAIO stand against. We stand against blaming other brown and black people for the situation that we are in here in America. To me, at the end of the day, what I'm saying to you, hold on a second. And so we here in America, we can solve this problem that we're dealing with land infrastructure and nationhood. Because the bottom line is this, brothers and sisters. I talk to people about this all the time. I talk to people about the fact that when you go on job sites, construction sites, where there's hundreds upon thousands of contractors, and you will have one black person representing all the trades. So in other words, you go there, you have one black electrician, then you have like one black carpenter, and then you have like one black, you have, but the further along down the line of the pay grade and the skill grade, you start seeing more black people. So for instance, you'll go down the line and you'll see painters. You'll see a lot more black painters there. And then you go further down the line and then you see cleaners. You'll see a whole lot of black cleaners. And, then you'll see some Mexicans there. So let me get this straight, Negro. What you're saying is that we need to kick Mexicans out of America because Mexicans are taking the low-wage jobs, and that's what you want? You want to fight Mexicans for low-wage jobs? Because I'm going to tell you a reality. In my circles and in the circles above me, in the six-figure circles and the seven-figure circles, do you think there's hundreds of Mexicans there? Do you think there's hundreds of Mexicans in the six- and seven-figure circles? If your answer is yes, don't be an idiot. The reality of the situation is that they're on the low-rung jobs. And if you are fighting for the low-rung jobs, that says everything we need to know about you. What we want to fight for is work with dignity. I say again, what we want to fight for is work with dignity. And if you are the kind of person that all you want is a low-paying job, I'm not trying to hate on you. But what I am saying is that there are very smart, talented, driven black men and women that live in America. And they don't want to be on a lower paying run. In fact, what happens is when they get laid off, when they get denied, when they get blackballed or whitewashed in their industry, that's what they end up doing for a short period of time and have no problem getting into it. But the reality of the situation is if you have any half a brain, you want to go someplace where your skills will be challenged and you can use your creativity. That is the mission of the BAIO. We want to create a bigger space and a more controlled space for black men and women of intellect who have some kind of drive, and they are the ones, have some kind of drive, and they want the ability and access to use their creative ability and have their intellect challenged. And this is something that As you can see, I got to play daddy while I'm doing my radio show. Right, pretty girl? You see, he said right. So anyway, at the end of the day, brothers and sisters, this is what we're talking about. We are tired of begging a candidate to do this because let's be very honest, brothers and sisters. Donald Trump is not going to deliver any jobs any more than Barack Obama did, any more than Hillary Clinton will, any more than Bernie Sanders will, any more than Ronald Reagan did, or any other president. You, first off, should not be looking for a candidate to deliver jobs to you. You should be looking for a situation in which you are able to create more jobs for yourself. And when Honorable Elijah Muhammad talked about this in the Black Man's Duty, this is the kind of stuff that you and I as a people, we don't hear anymore from the Black Power Circuit. Because the Black Power Circuit is so caught up in transient things that we can't touch anymore, and people constantly rail against them. I know I'm up against a break and I gotta go, but here's what my assessment on why the conscious circuit and conscious community have gone towards non-touchable, non-feelable, non-tasteable, non-seeable stuff that we can argue and debate about all day. You know why they have done that? It's basically they have given up on creating our own context. They have fought for so long and been told that for so long, and second-generation leaders and managers have generation leaders and managers promised them for so many years that they would get that, and they never got it. So what ends up happening, brothers and sisters, because here's the thing for me. Let me slow down kind of here. For me, what fascinates me? What fascinates me is cause and effect situations. What fascinates me is cause and effect situations. I love looking at industries and what shapes, changes, and moves in industries. And I have to be that way because I have to survive. But it also is something that fascinates me because I like to be a predictor of where things is going. And so therefore, for instance, basketball, because of Michael Jordan and the way that he was and the skills and the gifts and abilities that he had, basketball changed into a one-guy isolation game. So because it changed into a one-guy isolation game, it became boring and attendance was down, what ended up happening is the decision makers changed basketball and made rules to try to what's called discourage isolation and facilitate ball sharing, spacing, moving. You know, they instituted the zone. So the legislation changed in order, it changed basically with what one man was able to do. And you and I as a people, we have to look at the way things are going in this day and time, and we have to basically adjust to it. So as far as I'm concerned, the conscious community, after being let down in generations, being lied to and tricked, and nothing happened, is now shifting towards stuff that we can't control, taste, or touch, because basically it is too hard for them. It's too hard for them to talk about nationhood. It's too hard for them to talk about black nationalism. And it's too hard for them to talk about building their own society. I mean, some lip profess it, but not many are really invested in doing it. And so therefore, you and I, we today, if you are a person that is down to change the context, if you're a person that doesn't believe in blaming other black and brown people for where we are, and you want to try your best to change the context so that we can have something for everybody, then all we say at the BAIO is just show up. We'll be back. 2 points stand out clearly in the progressive development of black nationalism. First, it has been a movement of reaction against white cultural domination concomitant with political domination. Can't believe I got that word out. Secondly, without the pressure and conflict generated by segregation, without the historical and social factors which dominate the situation of the black man in America, that is, without the racial factor, the forms of reaction to cultural contact would have had a completely different character. For the cultural position of the black man in America possesses its own specific characteristics. The black man lives in a symbiotic relationship with the white man. I got to say that again. The black man lives in a symbiotic relationship with the white man, held in subordinate position by the caste system. Furthermore, the black man is governed by by the white dominant group, especially in the areas of religion and social morality. The wish for independent expression finds a ready springboard in those elements of black subculture which segregation helped to define structurally. Thus, an ironic aspect of black popular movements is the way in which white ideas act as catalysts of nationalist feelings. Christian egalitarian teaching, for example, helps show black converts the fundamental contradiction of white domination and avowed humanitarian principles of Western culture, thereby underscoring the hiatus between objective practice and declared values of white men. The powerful emotional disaffection for the white man that inspires nationalism is born of judging the white man against his own principles. Now, that's one of our highly accomplished English black scholars. So forgive all of the jargon. I hope that you understood most of what he said. But the reality of the situation is that I agree with that wholeheartedly, and that kind of goes into the next thing that I'm going to say. Brothers and sisters, I want to slow it down a little bit and do some real talk now. When we talk about building a nation, the nation that we build is for all black people. However, the nation that we build must be built by those who know what they're doing. And you have two aspects of the building of a nation. You have the thinking aspect of it, and then you have the physical laboring aspect of it. I'm not saying that you have to be a genius in order to pick up cinder blocks and lay bricks and mortars. But what I am saying is that you now, and I've been saying this for years, and I will continue to say it. You now, brother or sister, who is a black nationalist, you now who agree with everything I just read in that particular article. So you understand that black nationalism is kind of a reaction. So you understand that we judge them by the moral values that they say that they have against or divided by or indivisible or divisible by the actions that they the actions that they show us and the wounds that they inflict on us with their police, with their system, with their politics. You know what I'm saying? With all that they do. So therefore you have a dude like the Negro I mentioned in the last article talking about how, if you'd have got a little bit further into the article, you would have seen some Jesse Jackson stuff, some Al Sharpton stuff. Listen, brothers and sisters, in 2016, who gives a damn about Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton? Who the hell gives a damn about these dudes? These dudes are irrelevant in 2016. And the funny thing about it is that they, as in Republicans and many other liberals, made these two popular. And now they use them as sacrificial pigs in order to try to bring all of us down and point to them, and nobody gives a damn about them. So when you hear Bill O'Reilly, when you hear Michael Savage, who's somebody in the BI who gets his ideas from, when you hear all of these fools talking about, Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, and all this other stuff, when you hear that, you got to ask yourself, where y'all getting that from? Nobody gives a damn about these people. Do you know somebody asked me about that? I want to say in 2005, a white coworker asked me this is, how come Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton, how come they speak for y'all? I said, who the hell says they speak for us? You? Well. I said, tell me how they speak for me. Well, every time I look on TV, I said, exactly, end of discussion. Pass me a fork. Because quite frankly, these guys are irrelevant, but you would have seen that, and when you see that in this article, then that's why you know that this nigga was totally dominated by Republican TV or radio, and he's coming at you with the whole, if it wasn't for Jesse Jackson, like they're the number one reason why black people is in poverty. Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton were here when we were first brought over here on the ships. They were the ones that oversaw the slave trade. They were the ones that oversaw all the public lynching, whipping, burning. I mean, come on, brothers and sisters, you're smarter than that, aren't you? So anyway, again, like I said in the beginning, building of a nation is going to take very intelligent brothers and sisters who are dedicated to what they're doing. And so let me give you an idea of what kind of person that is going to be in the intelligence and brain trust. This is an article here about a gentleman who's actually the general manager of Hyundai's luxury brand. His name is Erwin Raphael. And the article says, I'm going to read you certain clips, so if you don't see continuity in it, there's a method to my madness. He's talking about dealing with an employee he describes as being on fire, a person who just rushes off and begins making changes before thinking things through. But Raphael notes that in some companies, people are unclear about their responsibilities and nothing gets done. At Chrysler's foundry plant in Indianapolis in 2001, he learned from African American plant manager Bob Bowers to harness that level of energy in a way that moves things along. You're much better off with someone on fire than someone who doesn't want to do anything. So when I have someone like that, I focus on what I need and let the line do what it needs to do. Raphael explains, expounding on the lesson that he says he learned then and still uses today. You've got to assign responsibility and accountability to everything that is key. Make sure there is a single person responsible for moving each needle, and that person needs to know they are responsible. Once you have that, people get things done. Now, let me stop right here, brothers and sisters, because I'm only going to go for an hour, but I do want to approach these topics and talk about their relevancy to certain things that we're going through, and even we're going through in the BAIO. So now, there are young people who are fired up like this. There are young people who are fired up and they're passionate like this, and they really don't want to wait for anybody. They want to go ahead and do what they need to do. And so be that as it may, brothers and sisters, what happens is that these young people, oh, wow, see, we got a whole lot of people in the chat room. These young people are the people that we are looking for. But you cannot discourage the passion and the fire of young people, because the flip side of young people is they get very discouraged very fast. Now, why is that, brothers and sisters? Why do young people get discouraged very fast? Let me give you the profile of a millennial from what I understand. And understand millennial is a brother or sister who pretty much was born after 2000 came, if you don't know what that is. I'm not trying to be condescending. I'm just assuming you may not know. Okay? So when you deal with a millennial, all right, first of all, one thing you have to understand about millennials is they question everything. They question everything. Now, I know I've said this on the show before, but I have to say it again, because if you're out there and you're in a black nationalist group, a black movement, and you get young people in, and you are Mr. Shut Up and Do It, you are I'm the sergeant, I'm the leader, and you are the follower, you're not going to make it in modern times, because these young brothers and sisters, they are going to question you. And what the hell is wrong with you that you can't answer questions? Also, what the hell is wrong with you that you can't explain your position? Because to me, it's always been that when you don't explain your position, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. Something, brothers and sisters, I study what I study it, I swim in it. And when a younger person asks, we did that because of this and that, and if you do this, it's going to be that. And you want to know something? Sometimes the younger person will still go ahead and do what they need to do. And when they go ahead and they do it, and they run into the problem, they said, why did I go to that? I said, you see now why I told you that you're going to do this, that, and it's going to end up like this? But the thing is that they respect me because I was able to explain it. If you're insecure, if you are not comfortable in your own skin, if you're afraid, if it's disrespect. But the reality of the situation is these people ain't coming from that situation. They're coming from a situation where they was question anything, everything, and anything. And you know why? There's two reasons why. First of all, ancestrally, we, in our generation, we didn't question a goddamn thing. We didn't question nothing. We were lied to for 10, 20, 15, 20 years by so many different black leaders. This is the reason why the rednecks can use Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson on us, because we should have questioned them a long time ago. You know what the first question for Jesse should have been? Yo, what exactly happened with you and Martin Luther King? What did you have to do with the death of Martin Luther King? And how come you tried to fill his shoes as soon as he died? And when you ask that kind of question, the Rainbow Coalition would have never really got off the ground. But you want to know why Hillary's being questioned? You want to know why Donald Trump is being questioned? You want to know why Bernie is being questioned? It is not because of people from our generation. It's because of the millennials, black millennials who question everything and question authority just because they want to know, because they were born with encoded instructions in their mind. We didn't question, you should question. And if you can't take that, then you shouldn't be in leadership and you shouldn't be talking to anybody, because you should be comfortable enough in what you goddamn believe that you should be able to say, well, I'm doing it because of this and I'm doing it because any young person that come with it and says to me, hey, why are we doing this and why are we doing that? I go in depth, B, and the reason why is because I'm comfortable with what I'm doing. I'm comfortable with what I'm doing. I get on the phone sometimes with young brothers, and they'll be like, Brother Minister, I just said next thing, and I will go back and forth with them as long as I can. Because the reality situation is that I live this. I live this. I breathe this. And for me, this is not just something somebody invites you. I'm down with it. And, I only know one aspect of it. If you question me on it, listen, I'm going to answer your questions. And if I don't, I'm going to call somebody who do. But I'm humble enough to say, I don't know that. I'll get back to you on it. You know what I'm saying? And it is what it is. So let me go a little bit further in this article. It says, diversity has been a focus for Raphael, going all the way back to his first job out of college at Ohio State University. Later at Ohio's EPA, he started out developing models used for forecasting pollution and what would happen with pollution in water. Now, check out this next part. We had an ad hoc small group of African Americans. We just took care of each other, Raphael remembers. Whenever there was a new African American, we would put our arms around them and show them the ropes and help them assimilate better. 13% of black people aren't African American. I think I got to say that again. Roughly speaking, 13% of black people aren't African American. They are from Africa and the Caribbean, he explains. Raphael says Hyundai has been doing a good job of increasing the number of people of color at the company, and a recent review showed that every year over the past 6, it has improved its numbers both inside the company and with dealerships. We're still underweighted with black people on the Hispanic side and with women, he says. Now, brothers and sisters, listen. I'm up against the break, but I have to say this. This is the kind of guy I want to recruit for the BAIO. That's what I want to recruit. I want to recruit a kind of guy who sticks his foot in the door and wants to let everybody else in. And let me tell you the way I see it. The way I see it is very simple. If you did that in America, if you were trying to fit people in the door in America, well, I damn sure know that you try to fit people in your own nation. But if you was trying to shut the door on people in America, then I always have to wonder, what would you do when we had our own nation? Boom. And so therefore, for me, what I'm saying to you, quite frankly and parenthetically, is this. This is a young, brilliant millennial who has fought his way up to the top and now has kicked the door open and is trying to let other people in. See, you brothers and sisters are all praising a person like, what's his name there? Bomani Jones. And you say, Bomani Jones was able to go on Mike and Mike with a T-shirt that said Caucasians. He really stuck it to them. What? What exactly did this dude accomplish? What exactly did he accomplish? Did it take bravery? Yeah, it took bravery. Did it take guts? Yeah, I would say it took guts. But what did this dude accomplish? Because really, at the end of the day, brothers and sisters, if he ain't on ESPN no more, did that get anybody else the opportunity to be there? Did that get anybody else the opportunity to make the money that he was making, to have the access to the resources that, you understand where I'm coming from here? You see, we have to stop being impressed by stunts. We have to stop being impressed by things that people do that impress other people and look good in the public. And we have got to start being impressed by purposeful action that ends up giving results for not only one person, but many black people and many black families. And you out there who are listening to me today, you have got to start worrying about the quality of life of yourself and your family. If you are young like this brother right here, and you don't believe that you can do it, you don't believe that you can make it to where you need to make it to. My brother Earl says this all the time. And by the way, my brother Earl is one of the smartest dudes that I know. He's one of the smartest dudes I know. He doesn't say much, but when he does talk, it always means something, and he makes it count. And I love to hear him talk. I don't get him, he doesn't talk much, but when he does say something, it's always very, very smart what he says. But he says, we need to have our stuff together here in America as a person, and the same skills that you would build here would help you in a new nation. How are you going to go to a new nation and decide that's when you're going to get a skill? When you're here now and us going to a new nation is a couple of years away. The time is going to pass anyway. And so therefore, what I'm saying to you, bottom line is this, brothers and sisters. A person like this is what we need in the BAIO. Because I always say that we need skilled laborers and skilled administrative minds. And I've been saying that so long that you probably take it as a cliche. But in my judgment now, it is time for me to start profiling and highlighting men and women who are skilled administrators, because I don't think that a lot of people know what a skilled administrator would do. On the ground in a new nation, a guy like this Raphael, do you know what a guy like this would do? This is a guy that knows how to use personnel. This is a guy that knows how to use resources. This is a guy that knows how to handle conflict. This is a guy that knows how to diffuse stuff. See, when you, as a person in the black movement, are constantly in conflict with other people, then you're the anti-Raphael. You're the person that is constantly starting BS with everybody else, and what ends up happening is you run everybody away instead of attracting people. If anybody out there read this article from this dude and they were looking for a job at Hyundai and he was there, well, what do you think the people would say? What do you think the people would say? What do you think you would say if they were saying, I'm going to Hyundai? How is Hyundai to work for? Well, we got this dude named Raphael. Here's the article. Would you want to work there? I know I would want to work there, especially for a dude who's kicking the door open, trying to bring as many black people there as possible, because what that says to me, number one, is that says that it's going to be fair. And number two, what it says is that this dude is going to give me an opportunity. And yes, it starts as something where you give black people an opportunity, but it looks like he's running a meritocracy or something close to it. And that, to me, is what I champion all the time. So bottom line is this. If you're out there listening to BAIO radio and you got the skills and experience, or you have any kind of, any kind of ability like this Raphael person, we're asking for you to show up. We're asking you to come to us, and we're asking for you to just show up. We'll be back.